Stick around for this episode of the Tunepact Podcast where we got Matt McGuire, a.k.a. Sawborg Destructo from GWAR.
That's right. I'm on here. Come check it out.
Welcome to the Tunepact Podcast. I'm your host, the punk rock pop, Lee Pierce. And today our guest back again is Matt McGuire, a.k.a. Sawborg Destructo from GWAR. Matt, thanks for sticking around. And in case anyone that missed the first episode, do a quick rundown of who you are and why you're here.
I'm Matt McGuire. I'm one of the members of the rock group GWAR, or actually Shock Rock group GWAR, and I'm the current art director right now, and I'm one of the guys that performs, makes props, and sings in the band.
Well, the band's known for its huge stage antics, the stage show, the costumes, and everything, and it's over the top to say the least. It's kind of the purpose of the band and the brand is art, and big fun, which is great. It's what the world needs, always more so than ever. But the costumes can even be a little revealing. How I gotta ask, man, I'm comfortable in my own skin, but how do you get up there and do that sometimes? It's gotta be, has there ever been where you're like, I just can't? Or
no, for me personally, it's never been a problem. I guess there's been that exhibitionist part of me that just whatever, But it's funny because then you'll see a picture and you're like, maybe I should go to the gym. Boy, I need to lay off those ice cream sandwiches or something. There's that. But that's only from a personal critique versus at the end of the day, it's when I'm out there having fun, getting covered in blood and doing whatever, I don't care. Yeah.
It's like you've been doing a lot of promos for record stores where the cities where you're on tour and stuff like that. Is it harder to do those ones where you're more one-on-one with someone and in front of the camera than it is being on stage doing the whole stage show?
No, I mean, it's funny because, with some of the, main characters, the bad guy characters that I end up playing, when I get to develop them enough, so, Sawborg I've been doing since 2008, it's easy because it's just, it's a second scan. You're just, you're that guy, you're this character, you know his motivations, you know how he would act or react to stuff. So a lot of times it's just, it's primarily remembering to stay in character when you go from trying to direct the video a little bit to doing it right, to be you got to remember, you got to be a crazy weirdo here for this, but yeah, no, I don't know, it's weird. I think because we've been performing for so long and from various states of there's the more intimate shows where it's okay, here's the club where you got a couple hundred people crammed in, up on you, versus here's a stadium arena show where it's the sea of indistinguishable people. I guess it's I don't know. I've also been fortunate to not have stage fright or those types of things. Some of the people in the band, they definitely have it or have anxiety about it, and which that's, to me, it's a foreign concept because I'm well, wait a minute, this is what we do. We go out here, we entertain, we have fun. We're going out there, the funnest hour and a half that we have the whole freaking day, because the rest of it is nonsense to get to that hour, right? You're working your ass off to get to here to go have fun, right? So it's this is where it's supposed to be fun, not a chore or an anxiety-ridden trauma experience, right? It's you're supposed to be having fun out there, so I don't know, but yeah.
It's funny that you can just switch it off like that, because I saw it like you said, when you put the costume and stuff on, it's just something that you've done. Now you're thinking about this. You're not thinking about, should I be nervous? You're focused on what you are. Because I saw it when I had Hunter on the show. It was great because we shot 2 episodes and then we shot 10 minutes as me interviewing Techno. Mm-hmm. So we take a break. I go get a drink. I come back, and he's on camera, and he was techno. I
Yeah.
could not talk to Hunter, even though I'm trying to like, okay, should we do this? She's like, yeah, and I'm like, wow, it's just there. As soon as that freaking makeup's on, he's got that costume on. It's there, and it was so funny to see. Because I was expected to see Hunter dressed
Hey,
as
how y'all
techno.
doing? What's going on? What's going on there?
Yeah, but it's not. Even just one-on-one on a podcast, he is that as soon, and it was so cool to see. I was not expecting that.
That was what was always so great. Like one of the first times I saw him performing techno was on this VHS of, it was like a heavy metal compilation thing, and he was doing the full wrestling rant as the promo because he was all like turned around with the claw, and he was like, and it was just like, his typical, like, it was amazing. And I was like, to see him always go back and forth between those characters, because like when he would play a character, because he's a great actor, like when he played Grambo and stuff, and the voices he would do, or even sing, which is a lot tougher to remember how to sing, because currently I'm playing a character that has an accent, and I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna sing with this crazy Ricardo Montalban accent? How am I gonna do this? How am I not gonna sound like Ricky Ricardo or some shit? And I was like, so I'm already like trying to wrap my head around it, but it seemed like very second nature to him to be able to kind of, all right, now I'm an old lady, I'm going to sing like this the whole time. It's like,
Yeah, because now what are all the characters you've portrayed since you've been with the band? If you can name them all.
Well, so yeah, that was a funny thing, right? Like I always was playing. The first character I played was a bad guy. I played Cardinal Sin, and it was a New Year's Eve run, and everybody we had just finished shooting Phallus in Wonderland.
Oh,
and
God.
So
deserved an Oscar. It was a fucking classic.
I know, right? But we finished doing that. So Hunter and Don, Melanie, and a few other people, Dave Muscle, they all went to Vancouver to go edit. So there was a New Year's Eve run that was scheduled, and it was just like, you're here, put on a costume, let's go, So I was like, no idea what to do, whatever, but I'm going to play this giant robot character that's on stilts, that, there was a learning curve, because it's like, you're looking out at this little teeth vision thing, so you had to move your body around a bunch. And needless to say, I came home with 2 black eyes, a fat lip, and a concussion from that tour. But it was a Destroy All Monster show. It was an amazing show. It was a lot of fun. But so typically, which I always found kind of ironic, that the guys who had typically became the art directors of the band when they were around, or always played the Nemesis and ended up playing a techno or a Destructo character, and destroying the thing they're creating, which is always kind of a weird thing, right?
We hurt the ones we love because we know how to.
Yeah, but so essentially playing a lot of the bad guys, playing a lot of the characters. So I did Jucifer, I did GWAR, I've done Cardinal Sin, I did Mr. Perfect. The Destructo characters, between when Don would allow me to play Bozo when he subbed out. I was doing Bozo Destructo first, and then I played Sawborg later on. And currently I'm doing a reptilian character called Rexor, and he's a dinosaur person that's pissed off at GWAR for, screwing up the planet that he calls home. So, and there's a bunch of cool corporate conspiracies linked with the reptilian theories of, how they've infiltrated humanity and that kind of stuff inside there. But anyways, there's a ton of other, barring the fact that I've played probably almost every president, because I did the Reaganator as well, which had a little corpse version of Nancy Reagan in the chest. When you opened it up, she was like, "Hello, Ronnie." And like just tons of celebrities, and then in our universe, we always make up the status quo celebrities that are. We had this character called Clams Casino, who's just like that '80s rocker, heavy metal dude, So yeah, tons of crazy characters like that.
Do you ever have it where you're thinking up a really fun character and you're like, fuck, no, if I tell them about this, I'm going to have to play it?
Yeah. There's a couple of them that you're like, fuck, what did I do? Especially when you're encased in all rubber and you're like, why did I suggest this?
Your whole life is one of those memes of, you're probably wondering how I got myself in this position.
Oh no, it was the funniest thing. There's this character that was created. I think it was early on. This was before I was even in the band. It was the Fudgies from the Fudge of Plane. That were like these tentacly monsters that had this eyeball they would pass around to each other. But apparently it was earlier ideas of the technology. So art school, found object kind of thing. Where it's like, oh well, you can make forms out of chicken wire, right? Let's make forms out of chicken wire and then paper mache that, and that'll be the costume. Not thinking that the first time someone goes and punches that chicken wire, it's just gonna go, ah, and I think it was Chuck Varga was the one who was in it and getting just pummeled, like I ooh, ah, ooh, as the costumes like it was like that's classic like 101 GWAR. Like, okay, well we won't make it so you can see, breathe here. Maybe you'll drown in it. I don't know.
You guys could have a production crew follow you 24 hours a day, and there's so many documentaries that need to be made about you guys.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, just even like that stuff, like how every character you've had on stage could have its own documentary about how it even came to be.
Sure.
And then have who had to play it out and probably regretted doing so. It would be
my back, my knee, my hip.
Oh, I can't. At least not. Well, I mean, the chicken wire. At least it was nice and light because, like, now you guys are using all the foam and stuff. Well, I've got that. I got mine.
Yeah, nice.
This stuff's lighter weight stuff, but there's still when you start slapping on, something that's 6 foot tall, like Gorgor or stuff like that. There's a lot of weight to that. I mean, has there been any that? I mean, you guys are obviously good about. You've been building this stuff for 40 years, but has there been anything where you got too far along and were like, we got to scrap this. It's not going to be functional, or it's going to be too much for one person done.
No, the thing was, we're always like, we'll figure it out, right? It's like we'll break somebody's back or knees or something before we say no, we're not going to use it. We've had times where like they made this butt cannon, and the idea was like, okay, it's this cannon. It looked like this giant set of legs with a giant butt, and it'd shoot shit out on the crowd. But then they made it so big it couldn't fit through a normal doorway, so they had to cut it in half to get it across because at the time the slate pit was right across the street from this club we used to play, so they had to cut it in half to get it across there. It was hilarious, to think of shit like that engineering wise for your butt cannon, right? It's like, so, but yeah, like there's typically we would make a costume that would either from a design aspect would be poor just because we weren't thinking through certain physical parts of it for the operator. So there's definitely been a couple of costumes that I've been in that definitely screwed me up pretty bad. Other than the fact that like our decaps, because there's just no other way to like do a decapitation that's where a character can still maneuver in a cartoony fashion around, is like putting your head up into the neck stump, right, in various parts where someone's trying to swing a weapon at you and like clonk and clonk. It's like I missed by a mile.
How many black eyes have you gotten from failed decapitations on stage?
Oh, quite a few. Those ones were a couple of my concussions. But it got better to the point where people, especially you would learn how to either pull yourself back into the costume enough to, or down, this person's swinging wildly tonight, I'm just gonna rip it off,
Jesus. Well, did you do some of the wrestling with Hunter too?
So we did matches. Like I didn't do it to the extent that he's been actually really learning how to wrestle. Where I've done, just pseudo stuff that we would do stunt fighting. Our earlier shows when we do actual wrestling shows, we'd actually do shoulder throws and leg drops and things like that. And a lot of stuff was like us just learning how the costumes would work in order to do the gag, right? Like, oh, well, we have a pregnant bag lady, so we need to get her up high enough that the audience can see it. So Chuck will hook Bobby's arms and pull him up on his back so that the legs are high enough to see, that kind of stuff. So there was maneuvers that we used to do that. I mean, if you look at old GWAR shows, we were going to town on each other, and but not as much as, I mean, Hunter's a maniac at this point. I'm like, he started a wrestling career in his 40s and 50s and was just kept going to the point where it's like, man, it's definitely amazing to watch him do stuff sometimes. Like,
I can't imagine. He's older than I am, and he's another one. The costumes and stuff, that's a beating on the body. Lot of years just on the road.
Yep.
I mean, it's road behind.
Yep.
And then decide now, like, hey, I'm 50s. I'm going to take up pro wrestling, and not just as an announcer. Which, I mean, of course, he's got the promo voice, and that he's got that knocked out. He didn't need to get in the ring, but damn, it's funny to see. It's cool to see. I couldn't do it.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, earlier GWAR shows, that was what was so great, having him come back for the reunion tour. It was bringing that energy, because there was like certain points, like, okay, well, there's people who weren't, because that was some of the things with some of our older members or guys who come into the band where, when I first came into the band, we were all able to stunt fight and all worked with each other. Like, we all did practice where we had all these wrestling mats out in the studio, and we'd all do holds and flip each other and stuff like that. So we learned from each other, like, how to do this dance, right? Which was like, when Hunter came back, it was almost like our dance partner came back. So the energy on stage was just so much like more like the old school, like crazy, just beating the shit out of each other. Energy that like some of the other band members were like, oh wow, that's crazy that we haven't been able to do this for so long. It's just, oh well, we did all this choreography with each other for so long. You could just tell, like, when me and Chuck and it was me, Chuck, Bobby, and Hunter kind of just going, back into all our preset moves and flipping each other and punching the crap out of each other. It was almost like, oh, when you do this, I'm going to do that. Like, we all knew where to fill in, right? And the energy was just higher just because of that, whereas it's harder to do that with people who haven't had that same experience, which is, it's, now that we're in our 50s plus, it's like, it's a lot harder to do, So
where it's the practice and the planning ahead makes it worth it and far less painful.
Completely.
Where what you're doing on stage, that fight scene, you guys are square dancing.
Yeah.
In costumes, and you're not putting as much stress on your body being able to practice and stuff like that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, whereas like me and Bobby have been doing our battle scenes for a while. Sometimes when you look at the video and you go, yeah, that we're definitely going through the motions there. That all sucks, right? Because we're just, and then you do this, and then you do that, and nobody's like selling it, right? Especially because I kept telling them, like, we both built costumes where to punch us, to actually throw a working punch, it's not gonna hurt, right? Like, because he's encased in this giant green, spongy football shoulder pad. It's like he's not gonna, So it's like, trying to sell a punch, or here we're whiffing it. It's like, let's get back to selling it. That's what was so great with Hunter, man. Like, we do a scene where he'd throw me down on the eagle riser and just pummel me, right? And then I'd flip around and do it to him. It looked so cool. It looked like we were kicking the shit out of each other, and neither one of us were hurt. And the thing about Hunter, though, is that he kind of likes it when you do hit him. It's just like, it's like, hey, connect. You're like, oh man, I'm so sorry. He's like, nah, man, it was cool. It looked really cool. You're like,
always about this selling it, man. Selling it.
Yeah, he loves to sell it.
So you've got so there's obvious, but you see, you're talking about your concussions. I always laugh because I'll be talking with this. Some people get this question, some people don't. I think you will. What is your favorite concussion you've gotten? There's not many people I can ask that question,
See,
but you I can ask.
There's the different layers because the
Yes,
story's attached to how
but
you
there's
got
all. Well,
them.
that's usually what.
Yeah.
What's your favorite concussion story?
Well, okay, so the craziest one was I got hit in the head with an axe, which that is the beginning of it, right?
That's the beginning.
And this is how silly the way around GWAR was at the time. I get hit in the head with the axe. It was very beginning of the show, and I could already tell it was getting tunnel vision. My skin was getting hot, and I'm like, oh gosh, I just gotta get through this show. And I'm like putting wet towels on my head between songs, and I'm going back out and I'm doing my bits. And I didn't realize, like I don't even know how I got through that show. I was just like, I just remember parts of it. I was like, I remember putting a wet towel on my head, and I remember going out and doing parts. Bobby was talking to me. We were packing up our boxes at the end of the show, and I'm just like dizzy, and I'm all fucked up, and I'm like, oh gosh. He's like, well, you seem kind of weird during the show, and I was like, yeah, I felt I got hit, and I just felt, and he tells me I was babbling when I was saying that, and I pass out and I fall into my costume box, right? My feet are just sticking out of the top of it, right? And he's like, oh, they pull me out, and I'm like, kind of like, ah, So they get the paramedics to come up, and the lady's asking me all the questions. What day is it? Da da da. And I'm like, it says. So they get me, and they take me, and they put me on the stretcher, and they get me. I'm still in my slave gear, covered in blood, right? So they get me in the ambulance, put me in the back, take me in there. They wheel me into the hospital, and of course I'm covered in blood. And they're like, oh, like, get the crash cart, and I'm like, and they're like, no, it's all fake, it's all good, it's all good. So they get me to this room, and I'm like sitting there, and I don't know how many people, if you never had a concussion before, especially a bad one, you get to a point where your head is throbbing so much, your stomach's upset, your whole body's sort of at war. And you're sitting there like, oh. So you're trying to get comfortable or even have any semblance of like being able to lay down or anything. And I just couldn't do it. I was like, oh. And the nurse came in. She's like, oh, are you okay? Do you need anything? I was like, I just feel a little. And as I say nauseous, I projectile vomit all over her. I'm just like, whoa. And she's like, oh, we'll just have to get you something for that, So they get me this shot. And I don't know what it was, but it just was like, okay, it's okay now, it's fine. I wake back up from this shot, and all these people around me, right? I'm like, oh shit, and they're all sitting there. Oh, he's awake. The nurse goes, can we have your autograph? And I'm like, just signing whatever in front of all these people. So the first doctor comes up to me, he's like, you can level with me. You can just tell me the truth. He's like, was it drugs? And I was like, no. I was like, I got hit in the head with an axe. And he's like, huh. He's like trying to process what I'm saying to him, right? And I'm like, and then the nurse is going, no, he's in the stage show, and they do all kinds of crazy stuff. And she's explaining it to him. And then he leans back over and he goes, so it wasn't drugs, right? And I'm like, no, it had nothing to do with drugs. I got hit in the head with it's probably concussion. I've had many of them, right? And so they're wheeling me through the hospital, and I'm like, I'm all fucked up. I don't remember most of it. But then before they get to the MRI, another doctor comes up to me and goes, so what drugs were you taking? And I was like, I didn't take any drugs. I got hit in the head with an axe. Okay, right. So I get in there, I get taken care of. They send me on my way. Here's some Tylenol. Don't sleep for 24 hours, whatever. Here you go. So I leave, right? Years later, I've cracked my ribs. I've been wrapping them to get through the show. I've got bronchitis so bad that I have to go to the hospital. I end up in that same hospital, right? And I didn't know it. I didn't know it was the same hospital. I get in there, I'm like, And apparently at that point, GWAR was supposed to take care of the medical bills back in those days. It was like, oh, they were supposed to take care of the injury bills. nobody paid that concussion bill. So the first thing that happens when I'm all messed up, like coughing up blood and stuff, I'm like, Mr. McGuire, we need to come talk to you about how you're going to pay your bill today. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in the same hospital. Oh no. It's like, but yeah, it was crazy, man. That one was definitely the one that I only remember parts of it, but those parts I remember distinctly. The other parts of like how I got to the hospital, how I even got through that freaking show, because I know once it happened, it was just like bright light, like it was like woo,
What tour was that on?
It would have been the maybe no, not War Party. It was a little bit after War Party, so it probably would have been. No, I think it was War Party. It must have been War Party tour, because I think I was playing Mike Tyson is what did it, because the costume was built in such a way that to cut the front half of the face off, it was just kind of instinctual to do that. But Dave, we'd made this, which it was my own damn fault. This is a good thing to what we talked about earlier. But I made this axe that was just, I mean, it was basically I should have just sharpened the edge, right? Just like,
it would have been less painful.
Would have been less painful. Would have been a clean cut, But yeah. Yeah, so that's us just on a learning curve, going, oh man, make your weapons lighter,
Was that like in mid tour, or did you end up having to miss any shows after that one?
No, the only shows that I've missed is like we had done this like week-long run, and Bobby was sick before we left, and then within 2 days of us on tour, I got deathly, like I got it was pneumonia, it was, and I was coughing up blood, and I was like, I gotta go to the doctor, and the oxygen levels were so low, like my saturation from oxygen levels were so low, they were like, yeah, you expend yourself, that's it, you're just gonna pass out. So I had to sit out 2 shows, and I remember the first show I went back to do after that, I could barely, I would do a thing and I'd have to like go off stage and be like, because I wasn't getting enough oxygen. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. But ironically, that's the same place that Hunter had one of his heart attacks, which was like, what? It's like that hall, that venue's cursed, I tell you.
And he's still off doing pro wrestling though.
Oh my god, dude! Like he had 3 in a row, and I kept going. I was trying to be like, please let me take you to the doctor. He's like, no, I'm okay, man. I just need to rest. I'm like, you should go to the doctor. But yeah, he's a maniac, man. He's amazing.
Yeah, it was funny. Trade secret behind the scenes. The episode I did with him, he said that was the only time in history that Techno had pants on.
Oh, that's right.
Because when we shot the end part of it, it was only showing up from the waist up. He was like, "This is weird."
Yeah. Yeah, the way he always explained it was like Techno had gotten, like he was kind of an ornate general that had gotten all messed up, so that's why he was like naked, and he had cybernetics because he got all messed up on his journey to Earth to find GWAR. So.
I love all the detail that you guys have put into the backstory of the characters, all the way back to the 80s when Hunter was doing the basically comics. Like I told him, I never got to see them in person back in the day, but I've seen them, they popped up online, you can find copies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They always reminded me of the Motu mini comics that came with the Masters of the Universe characters.
Yeah.
Is what it always reminded me of. And it was just so cool, the amount of detail that you guys went into it, which I mean, it makes sense though, because you're physically going to be building these characters for on stage. Has there ever been anything that you tried to build that you had the idea but you couldn't make it happen?
Well, from a more of a blocking of other people in the band, not understanding how to do it, right? Like I had this idea, which we might try to do sometime soon, is we had it was Lust in Space, and I was trying to convince Dave. I said, well, why don't we use the video, because we had a giant projection, a projector that would project all the imagery behind us on our screen.
Yeah.
And we were gonna have this. We had this Octomom joke. Remember when the lady had like 8 kids? So the Octomom was actually this giant octopus, alien thing that was attacking the spaceship, and it was looking for its baby. So the baby was on the spaceship, and so we wanted to have this tentacle come from side stage where our spew tanks were, right? And it would be wrapped around a slave, and the tentacle would come out. The slave would just be guiding the tentacle. They'd be running out with it, and they'd be pantomiming like they're getting pulled around by this big tentacle. And then you chop part of the tentacle, and then the spew would go out on the crowd and whatever. But you could film and time it to the screen to where the monster could react to the chop, to where when you're doing this, it's like the monster's reacting like ah, and then as the slave pulls the tentacle back, you show on screen the tentacle comes off, and this little slave's like out in space like ah, getting frozen or whatever. And so that was what I wanted to have do, and Dave could not fucking wrap his head around it. I had to do drawings and diagrams and schematics and stuff, and it was like he just couldn't get his head wrapped. He's like, well, the tentacle is gonna come across Brad's drums and like get in the way of all the drum. I'm like, no, like what are you talking about? And so, like that kind of communication issues versus actually practically going, well, I can't build a 500-foot robot to smash through the crowd. There's that. But no, I mean, most times, like, that's the thing with the comics. The comics were actually part of the ability to tell the story that we couldn't tell on stage. So it was like, oh, any of the nuances or the jokes or the visual gags that you just couldn't do on stage, either for time, money, or whatnot, you put them in the comics. It also helped develop backstories for characters like the Morality Squad and Cardinal Sin, and those characters that, like, at the time, us having video or having any type of thing that we could have an interlude where you could show some more exposition or whatever, it was like we couldn't do that, couldn't afford it. Now it's like, yeah, okay, put a giant TV up there and we'll play a little video or something. It's like way easier now. But yeah, the comics were always, that was where me and Hunter came together. Like, that's what we wanted to do, is draw comics together.
Yeah, it fits with your guys' art style, that's for sure. I've seen a lot of the stuff, and I just love it. I mean, it works so good with your brand. The comics, the action figures. I mean, going to the conventions, pro wrestling. It's all kind of fits. What would a weird 15-year-old skater art kid want? And then do all of that. Do all of that. We're all still that same kid, and it's awesome. I love it. I can't complain at all. All right. Well, Matt, again, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been awesome. Iqbal, for anybody that didn't watch the last one, what do you got coming up in the new year?
Well, we definitely got some new tours. There's going to be a tour in the spring that's coming out, and I think it's announcing in a week or two or something like that. And then there's hopefully phase 2 of the action figures. We'll see what happens with that. And definitely going to be working on new music and new show stuff. So it's going to be a good year.
All right, that's awesome. I know I'm looking forward to a lot of it. So, well, all of it. I can't wait to see and hear all of it. So thank you again for coming on. You've been busy as hell, and so I appreciate you taking time for 2 episodes, not just one. It's been fun. Everybody, thank you for watching. Please do the like, subscribe, and share. Let me know. Give me some feedback. Let me know how I'm doing. Everybody, thank Matt McGuire, Sawborg Destructo from GWAR, for being on the show. And as always, please have fun and be nice to each other, because if you don't, there's no frickin' point. And we will see you next time.